So, I'm going to try and make this a weekly thing. We are going to do this like this. We are going to unedited, unscripted. I'm just gonna, like I said, just talk out of my ass. Just, things I like and dislike about my knife collection and share it with the internet. I'm going to try and tone down the cursing because I rewatched the last video and I was just like, I have a potty mouth. But I was laughing because this week we got a new manager at work, or assistant manager, third? I don't know. But I was like, God damn, finally someone who curses more than I do. But anyway, I just thought that was silly. So what we have here today is the crkt homefront, a Ken Onion design. I was a little late to this one because originally I was like, meh. Like, seeing it on the internet, seeing it on paper, I wasn't a big fan of the looks of it. But once I saw it in person and held it in hand, I fucking loved it. That's what she said. But, yeah, and again, like, first instances, before I got it, when I held it, I wasn't like, but then I went ahead, pulled the trigger, got it. This was actually a gift from the girlfriend. I got this, and another knife will do after I carry that for a while, because I haven't actually carried it. Well, I've carried it, but I haven't used it, but that knife will come at a later time. I think I have the next knife coming up. Yeah, so I know which one's coming up. So that one should be tidying up at the end of this week. Then I will start carrying the next knife after that, and I'll let you guys know my personal opinions on whatever I carry, whatever I use, and just spew bullshit for you guys to eat up. Do with what you will. But yeah, so anyway, back to the home front. For once, out of all the knives in my collection, I know, like, a lot of my shit, I'm always like, this is a bunch of balls, I hate it. But for once, I actually found a knife I liked. Don't worry, there's some drawbacks, but I found a knife I actually loved. And I just, last week, I had such a hard time putting this knife down to start this upcoming next week's video. For that knife, so for the last 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, so 2 weeks ago, I really didn't want to put this knife down. I really didn't want to bust it out. I really wanted to carry it. This, like, almost became my primary carry. So on my days off, on days I'm not reviewing knives, I mean, not reviewing, but if I'm not testing, if I'm not actually using it at work, I think this is going to be my primary carry. Aside from testing stuff, because I just love this thing. But anyway, let's get to it. The blade took a while for me to warm up to. I don't know why, because I've always loved, like, buoy, clip point, but this has got kind of a drop point to it too, kind of like a little spear with the swedge, and I love it. And the texturing on the knife, like, in hand, it's not really that grippy. There's not much to it, but I don't know why, but my work gloves, this stuff, like, is like fucking Velcro too. I don't know why, but it really works well with a work knife. Work glove. The jimping on the back, again, it's pretty rounded, so in hand I don't notice much of a difference with the spine jimping on this back spacer, but in the work glove it works. The jimping on the frame is a little softer. It grips, but it's a little easier on the hand, which I really like. I'm not a big fan of, like, the really harsh jimping, because, like I said, now I'm doing more warehouse style stuff. I'm a stocker for a store, so I'm constantly cutting cardboard and packaging and just tearing shit up, and if something's got a little too much jimping to it and I'm not wearing a work glove, it tears up my hands pretty good, because now that we're getting into winter, my hands get really dry, really cracked, really fucked up. So I'm a fan of the softer jimping. Just as long as it still has traction, but is a little less harsh. I'm a fan of that. I really like the flipper tab on here, kind of that gun hammer looking flipper tab. And the other cool thing that you've probably seen a million other fucking places that is the coolest thing about this knife is you hit that thing there, you push this away from you, and bam, the knife is serviceable just like that. And I always thought it was funny that the instructions are on the inside of the knife on how to take this apart. Like, if you didn't know how to take it apart before, then you're still fucked till you opened it. Or unless you watch a tutorial video. But yeah, it gives you a little step-by-step deal on how to take it apart, how to put it back together, which I thought was cool, but I always thought it was fucking hilarious that it was on the inside. But anyway, we got some nylon bushings that are kind of recessed, so they actually stay in the knife unless you like pull them out, which is cool. The lock bar is actually, as you see, screwed to the frame. This is the mechanism for the takedown. You got this big beefy backspacer, and again, I don't have a scale, but this knife is actually pretty light for like how thick everything is and how robust. Everything on this thing is pretty damn beefy, all the way to the pivot here, and then to put it back together is you put it in reverse. So the blade goes in closed, this guy goes in here. Mine's kind of janky. It's got a little bit of it's like an old car, you know. You gotta know how to use it. So you line up this guy here and it threads back in. Make sure you're not cross threading these fuckers. So on mine, I don't know if this is with everyone's, but then make sure your blade's actually on the shit. For mine, I have to push in on this back and push in on the star to make sure it closes correctly. And this is your lock latch to lock the front part. This back side just screws in. Push away from you to loosen, pull it towards you to tighten, and yeah. But alright, so that's how that works. And then now, so I'm going to talk about the actual blade and the actual knife itself. So crkt for this knife is using AUS 8. We bought this retail from a brick and mortar store, so we actually paid the $100 for this knife. You can get them about half price online for about 60 bucks, depending on where you go. But that's what I'm seeing online is around $60 when they're on sale. But brick and mortar in town, it was 100. As I don't know if you can see, but like I said, I've used this knife a lot, so I'm actually starting to get my own what I call custom satin job on there just from use. And I love when a knife starts to break in. You get scratches on there, you get, because I feel like that builds story. It gives the knife character. But yeah, anyway, the coating on the star tore off pretty easily. I was really surprised with the anodization on the aluminum, because these scales are aluminum, thick, hardcore aluminum. I think this is like, you know, that military grade airplane shit or whatever, but it holds up really well. I have one ding, and I don't know if it's factory or if I did it. You can't see it, but there's like only one ding on this knife. And when I carry this thing, I was just like, I'm gonna treat it like any other knife I have, even with the price. I don't care. I'm gonna flop it around. Sorry, Bob. Chill. It's Bob, guys. You don't remember Bob? Bob from back in the day was like, hi guys. Anyway, But yeah, I toss this knife around on metal shelves, on the floor. When I'm not using it, I'm just like, I don't care. I just fucking toss it. The coating on the clip has taken more of a beating than the actual frame itself. Again, the star, if you say right in the middle, scuffs. But I can't really hurt this frame. Even though it's aluminum, I haven't put a ding in it. I haven't put a dent in it. It's holding up like a fucking champ. The blade itself, the one thing I thought was weird out of box is if you see here, right here under the T, the bezel stops, or the blade part, you know, the actual cutting surface of the knife stops before the blade. And I was just like, there's so much here, and I hand sharpen, so I always thought it was weird when I'm sharpening it. Like, why not just sharpen the whole fucking blade? Why stop right here? Is that cost saving? Like, would have been $115 if they just grinded a little bit more there? I don't know what's going on there, but I always thought that was weird. I have another crkt knife that has the same fucking thing, and so I'm just guessing it's a crkt deal. So I don't know what the thought process behind that is, but that's it. I don't know why, but it irks me. Like, especially when I'm, like I said, when I'm fucking sharpening this thing. And that's another thing I noticed is with the AUS 8, the blade's a little on the soft side. So again, if you're cutting a shit ton of cardboard and you're using this as a utility knife, make sure to get your sharpening game up. Right, Bob? That's right. Yeah, so you're going to have to make sure you're pretty good at sharpening, or you have a sharpening system of some fucking sort, because this knife is a little bit of maintenance. The blade stock on this knife is a little thick. It's a little beefy. That I actually have a fucking tool for, and I didn't clean any of the rust off of it, because I'm an asshole. So we are looking at a little shy of 1 centimeter, about about a centimeter thick, and about 6/8 of an inch. That's a pretty thick blade there. The knife itself is about 1/2 inch thick. The knife length is about 3 3/4 in length from cutting edge to tip. I know, sorry, I'm sorry, a lot of this shit's happening off screen. I need to get a lot better about this shit. I know, I'm failing at the cursing thing already. Sorry, guys. It's gonna happen. But yeah, so what I was going to get to about the thickness of the knife. So this thing is pretty chunky. So if you look at my finger and the thickness of the knife, it's pretty fucking thick. So the thing with that is again too, you have a really beefy tip. So if you need something like for fine work, whittling, just carving, this knife might not be it, because it's got a pretty hardcore tip on there. And the thing about that is again, when I'm opening packaging, when I'm breaking down cardboard, I'm trying to stay within this much of the blade, because if I get any thicker than that, any thicker than this right here, it's like it wedges so hardcore between the cardboard, and it becomes a fucking nightmare to cut, unless you get like way up here on the belly. I don't know why it's a little easier to cut. I don't know if it's more shallow or if there's just more area between the belly and the grind. But right in this belly, it gets pretty gnarly to cut through stuff. But here on the flat, it's not bad. I try and use about 1/2 inch of the tip. And with that, it's actually a decent cutter. Or if you cut at an angle, like if you use the belly and going across here, again, if you get closer down on this this portion here in the grind, it's actually not that bad either. But yeah, if you're looking, so it's not exactly the best slicer, but it works. It'll do it. But once I got through the kinks and actually found my own technique on how to smoothly cut through stuff with this knife, I just love it. I just love it. Again, for nylon washers, I'm super impressed with how smooth it is. When I got it oiled and cleaned up, it's weird because like the thing actually is fall close. I keep the tension a little more tight on there, just because I just like it that way. But yeah, now that the knife's broken in, the detent's a little nicer. The detent is actually amazing. The other nice thing about this too is it doesn't have hardcore jimping around the flipper tab, so it's actually pretty nice and pretty easy to flip this guy open. Other cool features that I loved about this knife is that it has a recessed clip. So if you see in there, you don't see the actual body of the clip. It's actually recessed into the knife. And I thought that was just really nice, really cool innovation. Makes it really easy to get in and out of the pocket. The clip is amazing. Again, with the ramp and the angle, it's a little more extreme coming up. So I haven't snagged anything, haven't scratched the car yet, haven't rubbed anything that I've known of, so this clip's alright. It's really deep carry, and the one thing I wish about that is there was somewhere for a lanyard hole, but with this screw being here, I don't know how they'd be able to integrate one. But yeah, with how deep carry this thing is, I would love to have seen a lanyard hole. But again, aside from that, I've just loved this knife. And again, like I said, this is my 2 cents on the knife. This is just my thoughts, my things that I'm bringing to you guys that I want to highlight about the knife, like dislikes or likes. Obviously, I found more likes than I have dislikes. The dislikes, no lanyard hole. For $100 with the AUS-8, you're getting a little bit of a softer steel, but I don't mind sharpening my knives. It's something I do when I'm bored, it helps me de-stress, end of a long day. I just kick on YouTube or some tunes. I use a whetstone system. I hand sharpen my knives just because I like hand sharpening it. The KME looks cool. The Apex Edge Pro looks cool. Probably make life a lot easier, but I feel accomplished when I hand sharpen my knives and I can get them hair popping sharp. I like it. I like the mechanics of it. But yeah, so that was my look at the crkt Homefront. Again, it's silly, but I don't like cricket. I don't know why. I just always thought that was retarded. But yeah, anyway, so this has been my look, my opinions, my view on this crkt Homefront. If you have any more questions or something I overlooked that you want to know about this knife, go ahead and drop a comment saying, how the fuck did you not see this, man? And maybe I'll bring it up in the future, because I will be carrying this knife a lot, because I fucking love it. So somewhere down the line we'll probably take another look, see if I feel the same way. If not, whatever. But yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna try to get back in the loop, try and make this a weekly thing, try and get back into the videos. If you want me to get a little away from the knives and look more into the other ED shit that I carry, pens, flashlights, multi-tools, anything like that, go ahead and drop that in the comments too. A lot of my gear, if not here on YouTube, is on Instagram at Daebofett, Daebofett. And yeah, so you guys have a good day, good evening, good night. Enjoy the rest of your week, get shit done, enjoy some experiences, and have a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning. Alright, this is David signing out.